All right, welcome back to another episode of the Den Wait podcast. I think it's going to be a good one today. It's been a good day for me. So, um, Rebeccah Silence, how you doing today?
I am very well, very excited to be here. Let's make some magic happen.
Yes, man. So your last name is Silence, or you do podcasts and things like that. So I don't think your last name defines like you
No.
talking.
Do you want to hear the story behind it?
Yes, man.
So, my first marriage, I'm a self healing and relationship expert in private
Mm.
practice since 2008. I've been helping people heal since 2002. And this last name has so much irony because I was so committed to silence. I married a guy with the last name Silence. That marriage became domestic violence. I got out
Mm,
with a 2-year-old and I kept the name because I loved who I became.
that's cool. I like that. That's a cool story. So Rebecca, where you from?
I live in Boulder, Colorado, but I'm originally from upstate New York, central New York.
So how did you make it out there to Colorado? How did you get out there?
Originally, I moved out here as a music therapy intern, and I worked in Denver at the state psychiatric hospital. And I was only 20 and realized I don't think these people are crazy. I think they don't know how to navigate their lives, their emotions, and their situation. So I was here from 20 until 29 and then
Okay.
moved around a bunch. And my husband, so our joke is I'm a life coach married to an executive in the marijuana industry. He had an opportunity in Colorado. And so if we were going anywhere, I thought, my gosh, I have so much family in Colorado that I chose and such beautiful roots and community there. So we've been back here for about 6 years. Now we live in Boulder and I love it.
So how was that? What is this job again?
He's an executive in the marijuana industry.
So it's pretty big in Colorado, right? I know
It
I'm
is.
in Tennessee, so it's not really that
Yeah,
that.
no, it is. But he works for a company with grows in multiple states.
So do you have a lot of knowledge in that? I know I'm going off topic, but I just
No,
like to
that's
get your
okay. You can ask me anything. I
perspective.
mean, I learn a lot from my husband, but really for me, my heart has a lot of compassion for this industry as a cancer survivor. I'm a cancer survivor that only had a 5% chance to live. And
That's amazing.
I never understood the medicinal qualities of marijuana and CBD until I went through cancer and almost lost my life.
That's amazing. I know I have a good friend of mine. I was just talking to him. He was talking about his wife. Her the CT scans or whatever just came back, and
Yeah.
the cancer is shrinked a little bit. And the last time they did it, it shrank. So they're very happy about that. And she's just a cool lady. So I just it was some good news today. So that made me feel good to hear that. And every time I talk to her, she always encouraged me and things like that. So um, she's a special lady. So I'm happy to hear that.
Well, feel free to tell her about me and my story. And my book, Coming Back to Life, might be a wonderful book for her or any of you beautiful listeners out there that are going through something that just isn't fair and isn't your fault, but it's real. This is a book about how to use trauma to your advantage. And I really am a stand for whatever you're facing, whatever situation, it doesn't have to mean less of a life.
I like that. I like that a lot. So you are a therapist. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, how do you how do you get into that? I know how do you as a person, how do you get into that? What makes you
Yeah.
want to get into?
Well, I grew up in domestic violence and trauma, and fast forward, got a degree in music therapy and worked at the psych hospital that I told you about earlier. And what
Mm-hmm.
I learned is I think it's more about not what people's behavior is, but why. What's the unhealed, unresolved trauma underneath it, right? And then getting a master's degree in counseling with a 4.0 grade point average
Oh,
wasn't
congratulations.
enough. Thank
Mhm.
you. But it wasn't enough to understand. I still found myself in a domestic violence marriage. And if I didn't have my daughter, who's now about to turn 20, um, I wouldn't have probably gotten out for me and my well-being. It was only because I had this child and I wasn't going to repeat history and be a mom that had her in an unsafe environment like I grew up in, that I got out. So my therapy background is super important because it helps me see where the mental health field has really failed us and where the mental health industry just isn't delivering real healing, real transformation, real results for people. So I have this kind of combo of
Mhm.
therapy and coach with my own clinical experience in private practice since 2008, helping thousands in my private practice heal along the way. So I have this combo approach because I want us to understand the trauma, but that won't be enough to change how you feel. That won't be enough to change your life on an identity level or a belief level. And it's certainly not enough to break cycles and generational pain patterns that you inherited that aren't your fault. So my approach today as a self-healing and relationship expert is about squashing the patterns that you don't have use for and how you feel that you don't have use for, like a bug, so that you can feel how you want to feel and be the highest expression of yourself, no matter what it is that's going on.
I like that, and I try to be the highest. I don't even know how you just said that, but I try to be the best person I can be
Yeah.
in my life and everything like that. So you talked about music therapy, you said?
Yeah.
So explain that to me because I don't really know what that is.
Yeah, music therapy, it formed as a new industry and a new healing mechanism in the
Mhm.
1950s, the late 1950s. But even in 2024, a lot of people don't know about it yet. But really, it's just about using the music as a non-threatening medium to
Mhm.
connect people to their emotions, to their truth. There's so many different things you can do. You can work with autistic kids. I worked in nursing homes helping stroke patients walk again with music therapy. But what I love about music is it connects us to the emotions that are human. And my work is
Mhm.
about full self expression. And I don't think we wake up one day and know who we are. We wake up one day and we know there's got to be more. This can't be all there is. And how I'm living is more about survival than alignment. So, music therapy is a way to connect people to who they can become and how they want to feel. And I use it in my couples intensives work, in my family intensives, in my retreats, and in my private work with clients all the time.
So you say busy, you have retreats and everything. I see.
Oh, yeah, I've been around a long time. I do a lot with people, and it's such an honor.
That's cool. I like that. So I see a book behind you.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that book. It's a lot of things I want to ask you, but I want to talk to you about your book.
sure, sure. Here she is. Yeah, so when I came out of cancer, so what you can know about me, and then I only share my story with the intention of helping all of you connect to
Mhm.
yours in a liberating way, because so many of us are trying to outrun our past and we just can't. We can change the scenery, we can break up with people, move jobs, move states, move houses, break up with friends, replace them with new ones, but the patterns repeat until they heal. So I had gotten out of the domestic violence marriage, created a thriving business, and it really looked like my dream come true life. Like I had beat my past. I was married again. I got pregnant for a second time. And while I was pregnant with my second baby, I was diagnosed with melanoma and only given a 5% chance to live. So, what this book is, Coming Back to Life, a roadmap to heal from pain to create the life you want, is really the roadmap, like 10 actual transformations and breakthroughs that helped me stay alive, reinvent myself, and become so connected to my spirit that my entire life is practically a co-creation with God now. There's nothing I have to figure out. I'm guided, I'm shown. So I give you all the magic and all the secrets of how I stayed alive and how I came alive, but also every client I've ever had in the history of my practice, and we are literally talking thousands, they've said to me, Rebeccah, working with you, even if it was one session, I came back to life. And in almost every case, people didn't even know they weren't fully living. So After beating cancer, I got to work and I wrote it out. And I was so blessed to have an agent pick this book up and to have Health Communications Incorporated, a major publisher. They did Chicken Soup for the Soul, back me. And this book has won awards. This book is everything. If you want to know how to use life and everything you've been through to your advantage, if you want to be liberated, if you want to be empowered, if you want to know how to use your story to serve more as an even more alive version of yourself, you do not want to miss this book.
Good. So we talk about liberation, being liberate. What does that mean? What does that look like? Like, I don't want to give away the book, but just conversation.
Yeah, no, I am here to serve. And this is what I'm working with clients on day in and day out. I say I'm a self-healing and relationship expert, but I'm really here to help you liberate yourself. So what I mean when I use the word liberation, it's really freedom. I think healing is freedom, and healing is sexy, and you healed is an experience of you as someone who can never be threatened again on a soul level and a spiritual level. And for so many people, they're waiting for a crisis or they're waiting for a breakdown. And then maybe they'll give themselves permission to break through. And what I want you to hear me say is you don't need a crisis and you don't need a breakdown. You can just decide that it's time for you to fully live. And that's what I mean by liberation is your life is yours on your terms, and you're free to be all of who you are with the volume turned all the way up on who you are, no matter what, no matter if other people understand it or agree. I think about a client I had who came to me. She'd been a stay-at-home mom for 25 years. She had completely lost herself as a wife and as a mom and as a woman, and she was going through the motions and she was miserable, and she had an idea to start a business and she was really scared. I've helped over 150 women in my private practice start businesses over the years. And this woman was one of my favorite success stories because she came to me saying, I'm going to leave my husband and I'm going to start this business. Help me. And what ended up happening was I coached her to realize she didn't have to leave her marriage. She needed to reinvent it. And she could have both. And so many women in particular, but I know this is true for people of all genders. They think, okay, it's either me and my independence or my family and my commitment to serving people, right? Well, this woman kept her marriage together and now has one of the biggest gyms in the country. She's on billboards. She's crushing it. And she didn't even have a college education. She had graduated from high school, gotten married, became a wife and a mother, and that became her identity. So now she's a woman who's modeling for her three sons what an empowered, liberated woman looks like. And her husband, at first, to be fair, didn't know what to do with her at all, but he knew if he didn't support her in her dream, he was going to lose her. So they did some couples work with me. She did private work with me. He did private work with me. I even worked with the kids in this particular case. And this woman's business is thriving and her life is thriving and it's hers. That's what I mean by liberation.
I get that. And when you're talking about that, I know for me, it's kind of hard in life. We feel like we can't get everything that we want out of life. We got to give up something. It sounded kind of like what that lady was going through. Like, if I want to do this, I got to give up that. But I'm glad you showed her that, no, you can have everything. Like, be selfish.
Well,
always
please. I just said, please be selfish, because the more selfish you are, the more fulfilled you are, and you serve so much differently from a place of fulfillment. So self-sacrifice, it is not healed leadership, and it is not necessary. And I love to say this, if you can survive survival, you can survive alignment. And it's not going to be that you in the pursuit of everything you want means everybody agrees and validates you and supports you. When I got on a top 40 radio station in this little community that had no life coaches yet, nobody I knew told me it was a good idea. People were like, this could fail. This is likely going to fail. You know, nobody's going to do a private pay coach when they don't even know what a coach is. Well, within 2 weeks of me getting on the radio, I had a 6-month wait list. It worked.
Wow.
Right. So all that's going to happen is you're going to get feedback, but that doesn't mean you're off track. And people will support you that you least expect, and people will be unsupportive that you least expect. But your job is to stay in alignment in the pursuit of your life on your terms. And then you get information.
So how do we get out that of the need not to please or care what other people feel about us? Like,
Yeah.
how do we get out of that?
Think about it like this. If you're ever wondering, like, where did I go? And if you're ever feeling stress, pressure, overwhelm, exhaustion, you're suffering from what I call high functioning unhappiness. You know, we talk a lot about high functioning depression, anxiety, addiction. We don't talk about high functioning unhappiness. So before I tell you how to break through, I just want to acknowledge where you might be finding yourself. And again, it doesn't have to get worse for you to raise your hand and say, enough, it's time to make my life mine. And really, the way I teach it is we need you committed to living your life fully. We get one precious life. So either you're someone who wants this life on your terms and to get the most out of it, or you're just living to die. And if you're here and if you've listened to us this long, you care, I think, about getting the most out of your life. So it starts with commitment to getting the most out of your life and to fully living. I beat cancer by knowing I have to live like I'm going to live, and I might die. But while I'm still here, I have the power to live like I'm going to live and to get the most out of every moment and every day. So the first step is committing fully to your life. And then the second step is pick just one thing. One thing. Don't overwhelm yourself that you want to create. So here's a beautiful journal question for all of you. If I was living like I was going to live and like my life was mine, what would I create? And then from there, it's about who do you need to be? Because you're going to have to become someone you don't recognize yet to create a dream that you don't even trust you get to have, but you want it, right? So what's your one dream? What's your one big want? What's the vision you have for if you weren't afraid of what other people think, that you might fail? What would you create? And then who do you want to become to create it? And I really do break down the roadmap. There really is a map. There really is a path in this book, Coming Back to Life. And I would love for you to get your heart and your hands on it as soon as possible. I have integration exercises at the end of every chapter. I tell you what to do, but it starts with a commitment to life, and it starts with a vision. My client had a vision of being a woman in business, helping women recreate their relationships with their bodies, having them become as optimally well and healthy as possible. She wanted to meet women where they were, and she created an empire. And it started with a dream, and she didn't have any confidence that she could do it, but she wanted the most out of her life, and she knew what she was pursuing. And she knew she'd have to be a person in pursuit of that dream to make it happen. And the next thing I'll say is, from there, your best is enough. All you have to do is show up every day as and at your best. And it's enough. And you stay consistent and you don't quit. And eventually you cross the finish line. You know, I love to say, you can't skip the struggle it takes to grow. And it's okay to want to quit. Just don't. Just keep showing up. One dream, one next step at a time, and you're going to get there.
That's what's up. Again, talking about the dreams and things like that. So I want to ask you about like manifestation. What is your take on that? Because that, I don't know if I guess I believe in manifestation because of what you just said, you know, having a dream and just, you have to picture yourself in that situation and being successful to do it. I guess I can't be successful if I don't see myself as being successful. So like, what is your take on manifestation, or you use a different word for that?
Yeah, I mean, manifestation is just about deliberate intention
Hmm.
that you're committed to, right? So manifestation isn't about affirmations and visualization alone, right? Because you have to be the person that's going to make this dream your reality. But it is about, okay, intention and committing to that intention. So I have another client who's a financial advisor, very, very successful, really miserable in her marriage, really unhappy at work. And she said to me, I have this dream of just going to Spain for a month. But again, she thought she would have to leave her husband. And she thought she would have to quit her job. And I said, well, what if we can set this up on your terms? So intention is about knowing what you want and committing to it like it's already happened, first and foremost. So I said, what if we don't have to quit the job? What if we don't have to leave the husband? What if we can commit to you're going to be in Spain for a month and keep your job and keep your marriage? And she couldn't fathom this. Well, we set it up. We set it up to win. So your intention is about knowing what you want, committing fully to it, and then doing what I call setting it up to win. So we had conversations with the company, conversations with the husband and the kids. She did a month in Spain and everybody respected her more. She came back, got a promotion, and her husband, ever since she got back, is adoring her and so grateful for her. And their relationship is more profoundly connected than ever. Some people might say she manifested that. I'm going to say she got intentional, she got committed, and she got so committed that everybody around her believed her that they either had to get on board in supporting her or she was going to do it anyway. And this would not, work out well for the people that didn't support her.
I feel that. So, I mean, you talk about being a therapist, and what is there ever a time when you say, I don't know, like your language with marriage, but like, is there ever a time you be like, well, I think y'all should get a divorce? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'm.
You want me to tell you how I know when it's time to end the relationship?
What's that?
Okay. Here's how you know it's time to end a relationship. Your heart is opened, you love them, and you just know it's complete. Like a meal is complete. Like you put the fork down. There's no charge, there's no drama, and you've healed a pattern already with this person that you're now not going to take with you in the future. So one of my greatest specialties is couples work and relationship work and family healing. And my mission in 2024 is to help 1 million families heal because I want kids to have healed parents. I want liberated, fully expressed and free parents for all the kids out there. And the thing about relationship is most people will tell you that the relationship is causing your upset. I'm going to tell you something very, very different. Your relationships show you where you're healed and where you're not. And they give you an opportunity to be a next level, more healed version of you. So I look at it like relationship is for your soul's evolution. And if I'm unhappy in a relationship, there's healing for me to do. Now, of course, if it's dangerous, if it's violent, get help, get support, get safe. But in most cases, we end the relationship way too soon because we're blaming the other person for how we feel and for us not getting our own needs met. We're not recognizing if I'm unhappy in the relationship almost every single time, it's because I'm not showing up as somebody I love and respect. It's more about that than the other person every single time. So do the work for both people to become healed adults, not two inner children that are wounded in trauma, playing out the ghosts of their past in survival. And once it's two healed adults, if now it's time to gracefully end the relationship, great. So if both people aren't willing to do the work and somebody is just a hard no, then there's probably not a lot of hope there. But if both people want to do the work and are willing to do the work to clear patterns, to be two healed adults in the relationship and to reinvent it, and you've done that, and now you know we've gotten everything we can from this relationship. Thank you for being my spiritual teacher. Thank you for being my spiritual teacher. We're complete. We're moving forward separately, not together. Awesome.
And so with divorce and things that come with that comes with shame. Now, how do you preach no shame in society that will give you a lot of shame for divorce and
Yeah.
things like that?
Well, here's the thing about shame, man. If you're experiencing shame, it's because you're a vibrational match for it. So we've got to heal that age you got stuck in shame. And we've got to be someone who's no longer available to feel shame as you pursue your life on your terms. Because if you're still a vibrational match for shame, it won't matter if you didn't get divorced. It would just be now your boss shames you, or your kid shames you, or your friend shames you. Like, you would find ways to feel shame and to be shamed until you've healed through the part of you that's available to feel shame. Rebeccah Silence today isn't available for shame. And if you feel shame from the world, I guarantee you're shaming yourself because you were shamed. So my book, my course, the Emotional Survival Kit, it's just a mini series of 7 transformations to set you free. These 2 programs, the book and the Emotional Survival Kit, they will change your life. And they will, if your intention is to heal through shame and to be empowered, give you everything you would ever need to leave shame in your dust.
I got you. That's cool. I know a lot of people deal with shame and things like that, and that kind of holds them back. And for any reason, religious reasons or anything. Are you religious? I know you talked about God,
Yeah.
but people can talk about God and religion and to be 2 different things. So, what is your
Yeah.
take on God and in that? Because as a therapist and things like that, I'm interested. Well, I'm not a therapist, but I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Well, for me, cancer really gave me a whole new next level relationship with God, what I call God and source. So I'm not as religious as I am spiritual, but cancer really helped me see I didn't even know who I was or what I believed or what mattered to me anymore. And I knew my only job was to be the best of me and to be as clear as possible so that I could connect to my own guidance and to divine guidance and divine intelligence. So today, my entire life, every second of every day, I feel like I'm resting in the arms of God and I'm guided by God. And I will ask, like, show me anything I need to see. Tell me anything I need to know. Is there anything for me to say and to who? Is there anything for me to do? So my life is just a surrender. It's like a meditation where I'm just in tandem with God. And I believe that we are meant to experience the good, the best of ourselves, the best of life, the best of love. So my version of God is all about a magically delicious, blissful experience of myself and my life.
I like that a lot. Just deal with. I grew up in church, so there was a lot of things that I don't really like to use the word deconstructed, but there's a lot of things that I probably deconstructed in my life and to make myself feel a little better because, you know, and going back to shame and things like that, like I don't feel like those are not anything that God has given you. I don't believe that He's giving you shame and things like that. So I had to kind of deconstruct not to feel that way and to have another look at God and in myself. So I
Yeah, I
definitely like
love
that.
that you asked about this. I grew up Catholic. I was an altar girl,
Mhm.
carrying candles down the aisle like as big as I was. I've been carrying the light a long time, but I think there is something so important in the pursuit of spirituality and full self expression about being willing to meet ourselves where we are, right? We're not here to spiritually bypass our humanity, as my coach likes to say. We're here to have the full human experience. And I think it's just about knowing joy and excitement get to be the rule, and then our humanity is going to happen. But we don't have to double down on shame, stress, suffering, pressure, overwhelm, survival, misery. We can pursue alignment with our own soul and a life on our own terms and full self expression. And that courage it takes to pursue the good stuff it models that possibility for every life you touch, but you're not going to have people on board, you know, that are still in their own survival. And
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. And you're liberating every life that you touch the more you pursue getting the most out of yours. And you show people it's possible for them too.
I believe that. One of my things I pray is let me be an impact to somebody. Let me put a dent in their life in a positive way. I know back in the day I worked at Walmart. And even still now, when I go to Walmart, they say they miss me. Like customers, they miss me, and they miss my smile. Like I could be having a bad day, you speak to me, and just brightens up my day. And those type of things really make me feel like I'm doing something good in life and things like that. So, no, I like what you're saying right now, and I a lot of I try to live my life like that and um, be emotionally mature.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being a field man who cares about that.
Mhm.
We need more of you.
Yeah, I mean it's not always been like that. But I think being in the wheelchair, I actually have to think about my actions in how I do things because I just can't get a temper and go off on somebody and do this and do that and burn bridges. So I've learned to actually have to think about things in my actions. So and just I don't know, just try to be the best person I can be in life. I guess
It's a
it's
beautiful thing.
I rather I don't even like to be aggressive. I hate when I have to be aggressive and raise my voice and things like that because that's not the type of person I am. Now I can do it if I have to, but I don't. I prefer not to do that. So, um, but I did want to ask you, being diagnosed melanoma, right?
Yeah.
Can you do you remember what you were thinking when you got that diagnosis?
Yeah. I'm never gonna forget it. Because I have no family history of cancer. Heart disease,
Hmm.
yes. Cancer, no. This felt like so mean. It felt like a cruel joke. And, part of my history included me being suicidal, me being willing to hurt myself with alcohol, with eating disorders. And there was a part of me when I first got diagnosed that thought, my God, all those years I was suicidal, all those years I was so brutal on myself, basically parenting myself the way I had been parented. Is that why this happened? Like, did I cause this? But I realized really quickly this wasn't a reenactment of my trauma. I had done so much work to heal and evolve myself that I knew the healed me was going to be in charge of the mission called my life. This wasn't my trauma all over again. And I knew I was going to have to surrender
Hmm.
control and really be, like we were talking about earlier, intentional and deliberate. But it really was a blind side and it really felt unfair. And I love the quote from Byron Katie: when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. And I knew there was no arguing. And my only job was to face, move through, and conquer what I had control over. And that's what I did. And I was stuck in bed. I got diagnosed. I was 7 months pregnant. They took the baby out early so they could stage the cancer, found out how aggressive it was. And it began 21 surgeries I've had. And then
Wow.
chemo that I ultimately quit to save my life. And, I think the most important thing I can say to everybody out there is your only job is to stay you, no matter what, focusing on what you have control over, no matter what, moving forward with faith and grace and trust, no matter what. And if you want the real nuts and bolts of how I did it and the process and my method to a magically delicious life, no matter what you're going through, again, I can't emphasize enough the power of my book and the Emotional Survival Kit course. But for now, it's just about that commitment to life and then pursuing one next right aligned step at a time. And that's what I did. But I just remember, the moment feeling like it wasn't so unfair. But then I also remember the moment I realized there's nothing I can't handle. There's nothing so far I haven't survived and led my way through. And I just have to practice who I am and what I know and what I teach now more than ever. And that's what I did.
So your purpose became even more sharpened. Like you had to double down on
Amen.
that purpose. And I get that. And
It did.
um, it's hard because I don't want to. I think in my life when I think about that, like I don't want to my mindset to change because a family member has died. Is or you feel like I say it like I go back to church. I say like the dad is preaching, and you're his son, and he passes away. Now you got to take that, that light, and I don't want it to be where I take a tragedy to change my focus in life. So it's like I always pray to keep my mind straight, because I don't want it to ever be like that. I think I'll be better myself if I let a tragedy change my mindset. Oh, that was the reason why my mindset changed. So that's I don't know. Forget the purpose of why I was saying that. But I guess I just don't. I want to keep my mindset sharp and my purpose and vision straight now before something like that happens. You know?
Yeah. Well, and we don't need to wait for a breakdown to break through. And I think what you're really saying is we never have to give our power away to external factors, whether it's a person, whether it's a circumstance, whether it's a diagnosis. We have the right and the ability to stay the best of who we are and the truest, highest vibration of who we are, no matter what's going on. And life happens. There are peaks and there are valleys and there are rough moments. But when we give those rough moments the power to give
Mhm.
ourselves permission to be less of who we know we are, that's where the shame happens because we know we could do better. And there's never a reason to give ourselves permission to be less of who we are for anyone, for any reason. And Cancer, you're not going to make me less me. And I teach my clients this too. Layoff, spouse cheating on you, this doesn't have to mean you're less you. And be human and feel it all, but stay the best of yourself. And then you won versus
Mhm.
powerlessly giving your power away to try to powerlessly take your power back. It'll
I
just get
got you.
empty.
I got you. Now you are a relationship coach too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So, say for a person like me, um, I'm in a wheelchair, don't have confidence, approaching females and things like that because I feel like I've already had these self-limiting beliefs already, so I already reject myself. Um, and you feel free to ask me more questions because I can answer those. But,
Yeah.
um, how would you approach that? How would you how would you approach that?
Well, first of all, I think about a friend of mine, Sean. He's passed away, but he had some disabilities and spinal bifida and was in a wheelchair. And he was literally married to a supermodel.
Oh wow,
Supermodel
okay.
when I met him. Okay. So I literally know someone who was married to one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And
Mhm.
what I would say is this: either you're arguing for your limitations or you're arguing for the dream. Which is more important?
I don't know. Dream, maybe.
Maybe the dream, because you don't get to have both, right? Of course, the miracle says you can have grievance or a miracle. Pick one. I'm going to say you can have your limitations or the dream. Pick
Well, I definitely don't want the limitations.
right. But the way you
Mhm.
even just presented it to me, and I say this with no judgment and so much love, but did you hear yourself telling me all the limitations?
Yeah, and that's so yeah, yeah.
So you're a hot commodity. And
Mm-hmm.
you're a catch and you're so much more than a wheelchair. And then it's easy for me, right? I'm just going to say it how it is, privileged white woman saying this to you. I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine your experience. I can't know what it's like, but I can know that you are more than a circumstance and more than a limitation. And I would invite you to make a list of the 50 things that make you the hottest catch out there that you read to yourself every morning for the next 30 days. That would be my assignment for you. And I would invite you to really be looking at, why is the dream of love important to you? Why is the dream of love important to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not guess. I know what you're saying, and I ask myself those questions all the time. But I don't know what the dream of love is. Maybe it is society. I don't know. Uh, it tells you that, or I'm cool with being alone. I enjoy it, but I don't know.
I would very much invite you to do some soul searching, because,
Mhm.
here's something I've seen in my practice over the years that I don't think gets talked enough about. And I don't think anybody else is going to tell anybody this. So let me tell you and your audience, I think most people are afraid that it's either independence or a relationship. They don't know they
Mhm.
can have both.
Okay.
So you just telling me about how I'm comfortable being alone. Awesome. That's going to make you a way healthier, way better partner, to
Mhm.
know that you are good. Like, it's almost like, until you know you don't need a relationship and you're good on your own, it's not going to be that healthy anyway. So you've
Okay.
already done that work, right? But
Mhm.
it doesn't have to mean you lose independence or that right to have your alone time because you commit to having a relationship. And at least for me, I'll just say this: I wanted a healthy, magically delicious marriage and love story and family because I'd
Mhm.
never seen it before. And I am stubborn, and I wanted to prove to myself it was possible. And I wanted my kids to have an example of me having healthy love, independence, and family and career and all the things. But really, I would invite everyone watching that wants a dream of love or listening. Why is the dream of love important to you? And why are you the catch? And why do you deserve it? And then from there, we look at the limitations and we do the breakthrough work. And you read my book and you take my course and you can have it.
I like that a lot. I don't want to take up too much time of your time, but I do want to talk about the fear of rejection and the fear of no. Not even necessarily relationships, but anything. How do we get past that? I know when I was trying to do the work, I listened to a book, and the guy said, rejection isn't personal. Um, but that kind of helped me out a lot with hearing no. We
Yeah.
don't know. We don't really know why somebody's saying no. Sometimes often. So.
Okay. I think this is a beautiful direction to take our discussion today in, because you're not going to pursue any dream and be able to avoid rejection or perceived rejection along the way, right? It's
Mhm.
inevitable. But here's the thing: somebody saying no to you, it's not them saying you don't get to have your dream unless that's the narrative you are saying to yourself. So because one person's a no doesn't mean the dream is a no. And often somebody saying no has us think maybe we aren't going to get to have this dream, and they're not the same thing. So
Mhm.
this person saying no, or this opportunity falling away, it's just not part of your journey. And as long as you stay in pursuit of the dream, there will be yeses, right? So
Mhm.
there's that angle of it. And the other angle is, every rejection that comes at you, if it stings, it's because that's how you're already talking to yourself.
Mhm.
So where are you rejecting you? Where are you saying no to your right to have the dream of love or whatever it is? Really be looking at, am I really owning my worthiness? to be in the pursuit of this dream, no's and all? Or am I looking for evidence that I don't get to have it and proving my fears right? And you don't get to be someone who has a beautiful dream, for example, you having a beautiful dream of love, and then look for reasons why you don't get to have it. Look for reasons why it's working. Look for reasons why you are the catch of all catches, and why anyone who's foolish enough to say no to you is the one losing and missing out, not you. Someone saying no to you doesn't mean you're losing anything or missing out. They're showing you the truth that they're not aligned. What a blessing. I'd rather know sooner rather than later who's not aligned and what's not aligned, so I don't waste my precious time. And if someone tells me no, I really do genuinely think about it like this. It's their loss.
Yeah.
And it goes into their future. It's their loss. And they're a no. And I can't wait to find who the yes is.
Yeah.
It's your job to keep saying yes to you. And rejection is an opportunity to see where there's healing work and where your healing is intact. And it's an opportunity every time there's a no or a setback, perceived or literal. Say yes to the dream again. Say yes to the dream again. Say yes to the dream again.
That's cool. I like that a lot. And it's good information. That was good information. But I mean, and then that talks about overthinking. I think this probably be the last question that I have for you. I don't know if there's any quick fixes of how to stop overthinking, but I know for me, I've been a big overthinker in my life, and over this last year, I've kind of not been an overthinker because sometimes I just say I heard somebody say when you overthink, it's not reality. And so when I actually thought about that, I was like, yeah, we think about these scenarios in our head. That is not actual reality. And every time I've overthought about something, the scenarios in my head has never been the reality of it. So it's just like, you know what? One day I was like, I'm just going to stop overreacting. What it is, I mean, if it is a problem, if it is reality, then I will deal with it. But until then, I'm just going to live my life and do what I do. So how do you help people with overthinking?
Absolutely. I have a 4-step process. So the mind, we have to be aware of what's going on, right? What are we thinking? And is it serving our dream, the vision we have for where we want to take our life? Or is it taking us in the opposite direction, right? So the mind, and really, no offense to anybody who prioritizes mindset work, but it's kind of like personal growth kindergarten. Mindset work in the mind, it's not enough, and it will keep you in a hamster wheel, stressed and pressured and living from obligation, and it's miserable. So you have to know where your mind stands, and you have to know the difference between what thoughts to turn the volume up on that help you get closer to your dream, and what thoughts are completely incongruent that we need to turn the volume down. This is my strategy, right? You've got to know what you're thinking so you know what thoughts to follow and what thoughts are worth following and which ones are not. And which thoughts are sourcing from your highest self in the pursuit of your vision, and which thoughts are going to keep you stuck and suffering and flatlined. And from the mind, now you can connect to your heart, which gives you access to how you feel and what you need to feel. And from there, you can connect to your body, which will tell you what you need. And when you know what you need, you can get those needs met when you commit to making sure your needs get met versus putting it out there. All the other people in the world need to provide you with your needs. But so many of you don't even know what you need. So your mind connects you to your heart, connects you to your body, which will tell you what you need, which connects you to your spirit, which will tell you what you want. And a lot of us don't even know what we want. We're very focused on what isn't working because we don't know. I am telling you, it's in there. And I'd love for you again to read Coming Back to Life and to take the Emotional Survival Kit to have mastery over 100% of the time. I know what I think. I know how to feel how I want to feel. I know what I need and I know how to get my needs met. I know what I want and I know how to make it happen. You deserve it. And all I want for you is you getting your needs met, feeling how you want to feel, and pursuing the life you want.
I like that. On that note, is there anything else that you want to drive home or another point or make? The floor is yours.
All right. Well, let me bring this microphone right up close while I say healing is possible for you. And that is a promise. And the more healed you are, the more healed your difference in this lifetime is. And we need you being careful with people's hearts. And we can only do that from a place of healing. And healing is sexy, healing is worth it, and it really is possible. And I would love for you to check me out at RebeccahSilence.com, get access to my products, and get your life firing on all cylinders. Knowing joy and excitement get to be your life. It gets to be good. You've been through enough of the opposite.
Yes, I like that a lot. Well, Rebeccah, I thank you for being on the show with me today. It's been a good one. And I can't wait to see. Actually, I think I'm going to get that book because
I'd love for you to get this book and then reach out to me and let me know your biggest takeaways. We could have a whole other conversation.
definitely that'd be cool. So I'm going to get that information. But I definitely think I'm going to get that book because I need a new book to read. I haven't had a nice
I'd
book to
love
read in
it
a while.
to be Coming Back to Life. It's so good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I hope you have a good day.
You
And
too.
yes, ma'am.
And thanks for this beautiful show. And thank you for this beautiful conversation. And thank you all for listening.
Appreciate you.